Hello and welcome to our YouTube video. I'm Greg Hunter.
Stephen Hong.
Steve.
All right, and we are Team G-Force, and we built a collapsible bridge. So we started off our design process with the brainstorming. We concluded that our bridge should be portable, compact, and sturdy. And so next, naturally, we had to research how to do this. And we actually saw a lot of designs used by the Army in terms of portable bridges, but we also researched regular bridges. And so we had to figure out what's the best design for a bridge. And unfortunately, a lot of the best designs for a bridge, such as a suspension bridge, aren't very practical for a foldable bridge. So our next points of research that we had to address are how can we make our bridge portable, and sort of how can we make it as sturdy as possible whilst being portable. So going into our design, this is the first possible solution we developed, and it had flaws that we will address later on. But basically, it was just a bunch of pieces that could fold together and unfold just to make a classic beam bridge that would be able to cross small obstacles, sort of like stuff the Army would use to cross hard to cross terrain. So next we worked this into Fusion 360. And you can see here, we started with just building individual bridge pieces. And then later we finished this up. And this has much more detail than our initial work on Fusion, including the hinges and 5 separate pieces. And you can see how there's little cubbies for the hinges, so nothing gets squished together and the bridge can deploy in a straight line that's crossable. So now I'm going to hand it over to Matthew and Stephen to talk about the Fusion 360 design process.
Okay. And then, as you can see here, there's the Fusion 360 model. And as Greg said, there were the 5 segments, all stacked or all laid out flat next to each other with the hinges in between. And the way our bridge folds up is kind of like an accordion style, or like it goes up on top of itself, where this one would fold down following the hinge, and this one would stay up following the hinge, then back down and back up to make it stack up on top of each other. And so with this design, the hinges really just stay in place, and they're also the focus point to make our bridge the sturdiest. So if we want it to be the most sturdy, it's most important in the hinges. And then now over to Matthew to talk about the challenges we faced.
All right. So the biggest problem we faced really were the hinges themselves. We need to figure out a way to make them lock into place and remain sturdy during when it's deployed. And our initial thought was to have magnets in there because it simplified things for us, and we could keep a kind of modular design. And then that kind of also feeds into what we do differently next year, because we figured there's definitely a better way to go about it. We thought there's next year, if we had managed to build this in person, or had more time to test it and figure out all the bugs, we would have been able to make kind of a sleeve that would sit right there in between the hinges, and it would make a much stronger bridge. Basically, it would sit here, it would wrap around up top, so that there's just there's no possible way for the bridge to fold in or fold down, because right now the magnets are doing it, but they can only hold so much, whereas with the sleeve it would hold it sturdier, stiffer. It would be more of a rigid product. And then for next year's freshmen, as far as advice would go, I would say try and make it in person. Design the actual bridge and then build it to see if it would hold up to the actual standards. being split up, being online is a little bit more difficult to create that kind of just to build it and see what would happen. It's harder to communicate and get together for group projects. Steven, do you have anything?
Well, I would say advice next year, as when designing stuff, it would be really easy, or like for me, to be honest, it was easy to like imagine things real in our real world and like try to apply it to our design. Like for the bridge, we kind of thought like the door and how the hinges let it like fold up and open and close like that. So like maybe for other projects, you could also apply real world examples to help you out too. So that was my advice. Greg, you got anything else for the next year freshman?
I'm just getting as many eyes on your design or prototype or blueprint as possible, because I know I made the first design for our bridge and it had a ton of flaws. Like if you stood in the middle of it, it would completely collapse. So just getting second opinions on your designs, and obviously this was harder for us since we were online, but just building a quick prototype, testing it out goes a long way, because then you can see, okay, here's where exactly I need to improve. Here's what's working good. So just going from there is the best way to do it.
Piggybacking off of that, that was probably the best piece of advice, is have everybody look at it. Because even when we got to judging, they were pointing out things that we hadn't noticed before. So it's incredibly important to kind of have, peers look it over, say, hey, what about this? What about that? Because, you'll only think of so much and your partners only think of so much, but another person or another team entirely will point out so many different things that you never thought about. So the more people, the better.
Yeah, sometimes you get locked in that tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Like screws you over. And then I guess that is all for our presentation. Thank you for tuning into and we are Team G-Force.